Hey, welcome to another Magical Living open house. And I'm here with Rob Lange. Did I say your last name right? Lange, or is it
You
Lang?
did.
Okay,
Yeah.
awesome. Let me tell you a little bit about this guy because I'm excited to be talking to him. Rob is the expert's expert. Rob specializes in working with entrepreneurs and business owners to establish expert status through the use of feature press media and media coverage. He has worked with experts including Suze Orman, Robert Kiyosaki, Orville Redenbacher, Wally, famous Amos, Mrs. Debbi Fields, Michael Jordan, and more, and has appeared on The Oprah Winfrey Show, Good Morning America, The Today Show, ABC, CBS, NBC, and Fox TV News. Oh my goodness. I'm so honored you're here. This is like
And now
crazy.
I'm here with you.
What? How is that even possible? It's amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here.
Well, thanks for having me. This is great.
Just talking about we have a lot of people who have been a part of my community that have created things that have
Uh,
wanted to get their voice out there on a lot of different levels, who are entrepreneurial whether they want to believe it or not, you know.
right, right.
And then of course then on the other side are all the professional entrepreneurs that I network with.
Sure.
So what you have is what we need, this know-how.
I hear that often.
Yeah, I'm sure you do. Wow. So where do you even start on this massive topic when
It's crazy because it's something that so many people need and can utilize.
Mhm.
It's something that once you know how to do it, it's free, which is a very weird, very rare thing in business and in marketing or whatever. And also, you know, everybody frames it as a business skill, and most of people that I work with are business professionals, but it also is something that works for your personal life. I've got people that have a message or a cause or a venture or nonprofit. So there's so many
Yeah,
great uses and
charities.
applications.
hmm Like you've got a cause like a charity. I know a lot of you do good work out
Sure,
there and you need to
sure.
get free publicity. You need to get eyeballs on your thing.
Well, in the press and media, people don't realize it. We all think of the press and media as something that we consume. In other words, we read a book or we watch a TV show or listen to our favorite radio station or whatever. But in reality, when you understand the deeper, most, for like example, a radio station, they may be there to play music, but what they're really there to do is sell advertisements. And the
Right.
format of music appeals to the advertisers that they're looking to attract. So they're really matching advertisers with audience. And in the newspapers are the same, and TV programming, it all works the same. But there's another level of media that a lot of people don't think about. And the media itself is the oldest form of marketing and promotion available. It's over 500 years old. It's just as prestigious and credible as when it came out. Matter of fact, there's more media outlets today than ever before.
Right.
And, it's a great way to increase exposure, to get your word or message out, to build your audience, to build your community, to build your mailing list, to position yourself. A lot of people always come to me and say, I'm lost in the crowd, or there's so many people in my space. How do I separate myself from the competition? Press and media can do that. It can create credibility. There's just so many benefits about it. And once people realize that, then they can start seeing how it can be a business tool that they can use to get their message out there or to get themselves as a specialist or an expert or their business in the eyes of the consciousness of these media outlets. And media has among the most loyal and dedicated audiences of all kinds of possible marketing avenues out there. TV, radio. I mean, people have been watching and listening and reading these newspapers for years and years, generations. So
Sure.
it's something that when businesses can tap into that, that's something that's really amazing.
Well, okay. So where would you start if you were a newbie at this and you
Okay.
have a product or a service and you have all your bits and pieces together? Now what do you do?
Well, one of the ways I became the expert, which is a name that was given to me, is I started out in entertainment. And I was an entertainer and I worked with entertainers. And one of the things I realized early on is as good as entertainers are at their talent, they absolutely stink at the business behind what they do. And as I matured in business, I realized that success is really created in the business behind our craft or talents or skills. And so I started working with entertainers to create the business behind their specialty, their art. And then that went referrals went to other non-entertainment businesses. And I started working with people like Suze Orman and Orville Redenbacher and these guys that wanted to use the press and media as their platform for reaching people, not just a one and done PR piece, but hey, I want this to be how I reach them. TV shows and guest spots on the Tonight Show or radio spots and newspaper feature articles or have magazine write-ups on me, and they all did. I mean, they did very great with it. And I show a lot of business owners. Some just want to be the local dry cleaner in town, just wants to let everybody know about himself. Other people want to be Suze Orman. So I early on, I created 11 pillars that I feel it takes to be a true expert. And of those pillars, you've got to know how to speak about yourself. You should be a published author. To get the credibility and awareness that goes with it, you should have some proprietary information, and one of the pillars was you should be in the press and media. So once the first step to that is getting clear on what you're trying to promote or parlay. What's your message? You got to be able to speak about yourself in your message, and usually 3 to 5 points. Because some media segments, we think of podcasts where they could be 20 minutes or an hour, but a lot of media might only be a 3-minute segment or a 7-minute segment. So you kind of got to fine tune what it is you want to say. And then the second thing that I always tell people is you really have to learn how the press and media works. To utilize it as a business tool, you first have to understand how they operate, the language that they speak, and what they want and what they don't, because that aligns you better. I remember when I had my radio station, this was in the days of faxes. People used to fax us press releases. And the way the media works is you can glance at it. And if it's not formatted right in what we want, need, and expect, they went right in the garbage. We started with a little garbage can when fax first came out. Then we got one of those big 55-gallon janitor garbage cans right next to our fax machine. And in any given day, we get between 200 and 300 press releases sent to us. Oh. And of those, we might actually look at, read, and consider 8 of them. So many of them were discarded because they weren't formatted or weren't in the language or the operational procedures that the press and media utilize. So like say you're a newspaper reporter and you look at a press release, you would look at an improper one and say, oh my gosh, even if you were in love with the topic or the content, I've got to rewrite this whole thing. So this is going to take me hours so they want it in a very specific format. And press releases is just one way. I just use that as an example because there's a misconception out there that all you have to do is Google a blank press release, fill in the blanks with your business stuff, and then send it out, and the media will be knocking down your door. And more times than not, it doesn't happen. You could get lucky and be that 1 in a million that gets the media interested from it. But, I tell people even a broken clock is right twice a day. So there's a small chance of it, but it's nothing that you can count on. So we show you how to work the way the media works. And then people start seeing, this is how I could tie into the media, how I could get my message in their hands. And, what I teach is not anything to do with media buys or buying media ads. There's no money involved with it all. I teach people how to do this. And then after that, every time you want to utilize it, it's free. So there's very few mainstream, widespread, loyal audience opportunities that are free,
Right.
And then when you know how to do this, you can do it over and over again. I tell people that it's a forever skill. Once you learn how to do it, you can do it in your businesses. You can do it. I had somebody do it for their garage sale once. And because I always encourage them to send me your newspaper clips or your TV or radio spots. And somebody sent me something like, I got our garage sale in the newspaper. And it's like, oh, they ended up piggybacking with other people and kind of made it a 3 block long garage sale. But, in their local newspaper, that was news to them. So you got to craft your message to be newsworthy. That's another pointer. But it's really amazing how it can help people get their business out there, position themselves, and really create. There's a credibility that comes with it. So, the first time I was on Oprah, I thought I was just talking to Oprah. And I knew she was big and I knew she was popular. What you don't realize when you're sitting there talking to her is that is being seen in 149 countries around the world. So even though I was in press and media, I got a lesson that day because my phone started ringing from all over the world, people wanting to do business with me or asking me, could you bring that into my business or could we partner on a project or something? So it's very powerful. It's very influential. The media, inputs information into our mind and we determine our interpretations of that. So there's so many aspects to it that people don't realize. And then they start seeing, once I can tap into that, oh my gosh, that's a world of benefits for me. And I'm tapping into their credibility too.
That's incredible.
Yeah,
I mean,
it really is.
so you were on Oprah. What are you doing on my podcast? What are you doing? My YouTube channel?
Well, I
That's
looked at the
amazing.
major media outlets and it was Oprah and then it was you. You got to do
I
Patricia. If you
have
do Oprah,
arrived.
if you do Oprah, you got to do Patricia.
That's amazing. I love it so
No,
much.
back in those days, all of my business came from either referrals or from speaking. And when I was on
Yeah.
Oprah, I considered that a media appearance, which is essentially speaking. Well, then when the pandemic hit, things stopped and dried up. And my team was saying, this is the time that you should go on digital. You should go virtual. And I fought it and was screaming and kicking against it because I like mainstream media. For example, like say you got a nice feature done on you in the newspaper. You can take that and cross it over and use that content on social media. But social media does not cross over into mainstream media. So I was very anti-social media because of the mainstream media that I was training and teaching. But then when they had me do this, and I embraced it more, and that's when I started. I was in radio for years. When I got out of it, I was out of it for maybe 10 years, and podcasts started, and they were terrible. The host, anybody could do a podcast if you could
Right.
get in your Mac or you could get a program. Oh, let's record this and the hosts were terrible and the guests were even worse. And I thought, it's not a true media. It's more of a fad. It's more of a I don't know, whatever it is, but it wasn't real media. Well, then during the pandemic, actually before the pandemic, I started seeing that podcasting was becoming a true art and science. Talent was developed. People understood the medium. It wasn't just, hey, let's turn on microphones and talk about whatever comes to mind. They utilized it that it's a tool as well. It's a tool to build and reach an audience. And now I actually include it in my 6 forms of media. For years, I just talked about TV, radio, newspapers, magazines, and now there's online media. And now podcasts have come into their own. So I just think that's why is since the pandemic, I've been doing a lot more podcasts. Once you do Oprah, what else is bigger than that?
No,
So,
yeah, exactly.
and in the process, I shouldn't say that I was at this level and everything else was beneath me because I have always done local press and media. I work with authors that want to do a book tour or something, and I'll show them how they can go on the road and use the media to promote a book tour, And so there's a lot of uses and applications for it. And I just love doing podcasts. So that's really why I'm here. I liked what you talked about and how you carried yourself. And I thought, hey, we could have a good time.
That's amazing. That's so great. I come from TV, film, stunt work
Yes.
and acting, and sci-fi and horror mostly. And the fan base, what I've been blessed with is just this amazing group of people. I too am a big sci-fi nerd and fantasy nerd. So it all dovetailed for me. And I really did start during the pandemic. I started doing
Oh,
events online because I was used to going to conventions. And
right,
I love
right,
conventions. And I feel like that's where all of us, it's like my people, we can all come together. And that
right,
was really important for our mental health. When I started, nerds were not cool. We got shoved
right.
into lockers, right? It was not cool.
I
And
remember when Comic-Con was like a small little vanity
right,
boutique, convention, and now,
in
my
San
goodness,
Diego. It was in
yeah,
the basement of that hotel. I can't remember, the Grand Hotel or something in San Diego. The basement of the hotel. It fit into the hotel. And now it is 250,000 people. So exactly right, exactly right. And that's been sort of my growth too, because I started in 1990 with
okay,
Night of the Living Dead and doing very
okay,
local cons. But
right,
what it was a way for me to find my people and for
yes,
me to know on a visceral level what they
sure,
wanted, what they need, what
yes,
they want from me, for example. And so
absolutely,
I love watching performers like John Barrowman, who are actually like a traveling cabaret show at a
right,
convention. They're
right,
amazing. But yeah, and I started speaking at these things, like taking it to another level of speaking as
sure,
opposed to just being interviewed and all of that,
yeah,
which is
right,
fine too. It's all good. Whatever it is
yes,
good. But what I parlayed myself into a personal and business development because I love it so much.
right,
And I thought I want to bring this to my people because we've always been kind of an underserved community in that direction. And I feel like this is an important stuff. So one of the things, and Rob, one of the reasons I chose you is because this group is so creative. They
yes,
have now
yes,
they'll have great jobs in tech and programming
sure,
and all of that, but they
yeah,
have this gift. There's this
yes,
gift in storytelling because of all the D&D and game playing so they write books and so they've created their own games. So they've got this or that or groups or LARPing or whatever it is.
right,
And
right,
I want to see them get that out there into the
sure,
world. And another thing with us nerds is it we haven't grown up believing in ourselves the same way. And
yeah,
I am in my 60s, and so that we really didn't grow up believing in ourselves.
right,
But now it's a little better. But most of my audience is at least 40. I do have
yeah,
some youngsters, but mostly it's folks from
sure,
40 on up. And that's why I wanted them to listen to you because I want them to know that you don't have to be Taylor Swift to get yourself in front of an audience that's going to want what you have. And
exactly,
and you don't need to sell a million of anything.
right,
Right?
right,
You could sell whatever the number is and be really
exactly,
happy with that paycheck,
right,
with
right.
those royalties or whatever it is. So, okay, can you give some advice on like where to start or where to start looking, or do you? I mean, you said you had something with the 11 pillars. So do you have something that folks can go and look at?
Well, I've got some tips that I offer, and I
Hmm.
also have a special report I created called "Getting Started with Press and Media" because a lot of times people are like, "Oh, like when they hear this, they might get their wheels turning," but it's like, "How would
Hmm.
I start, or what are the first
Yes.
steps?" But I do offer some tips. It's funny to expand on what you said. Um, and I skipped over so much of my story, but after being an entertainer, I opened an entertainment agency and I started representing different celebrities. And I remember at the time, I was representing Burt Ward, Adam West, and Julie Newmar from the 60s TV series Batman. And we used to do a lot of appearances at like auto shows, the World of Wheels, International Auto Show, and we started doing some of these conventions when only a handful, like you say, they'd be in a basement and only a handful of people would come out. And also there was some crossover with horror, like Butch
Yes.
Patrick from the Munsters, Al Lewis, and some other people I worked with that were into that and into that scene, and they were welcome and embraced. And same for Cassandra, who played Elvira, portrayed Elvira.
Oh, I know
But
Cassandra. Yeah.
what's happened is and we would talk about this as it grew. The venues became bigger. They started attracting more people. Cosplay wasn't a thing back then. Now that's huge. And we talked about how this nerd community actually started gaining mainstream credibility. And with that came media. There's more media than ever before, but there is a lot of specialty media. There is, horror media magazines, and there are, industry trades and stuff like this for all of these different kinds of industries. So basically, what I would say is you can try to use mainstream media, and there's different angles that the media likes. Like they like local people doing well, the local person doing good. They like women in business. They like seniors. They like health and wellness, and they like anything that preventative things like scams or frauds or anything that could hurt people. They like to cover those kind of things. And there's many other media angles to use as well, but women in business, that's another one that they love.
Wow.
So,
I'm
for
ticking
example,
a lot of boxes here. I'm really excited.
yeah, well, that's so if, in your home area, I always encourage people to start in the area where they're from for two reasons. Number one, that's their local market. Number two, they're more familiar with those media outlets because they're their home area outlets. And you could try to. I worked with a girl yesterday that we used as an example, and she said she hired somebody to teach her how to write. She hired somebody to write a press release for her. And he had gotten in a newspaper once or something like this. And, it's sometimes people get in media once, 20, 30. You go to a restaurant, you're in the waiting area, and you'll see like a framed newspaper article on that restaurant from 1985. And that was the one time they were in there. What I'm talking about is doing this regularly so you become media friendly, media known, and it's part of your business. So anyway, you could contact your local media with a story of a local woman is a podcaster helping so and so, and that could create some interest in you. But you could also tap into there's Podcast Magazine, there's Speaker Magazine, there is horror or sci-fi magazines. There's even collectibles to some degree are big into that. So there's specific media that you could do the same thing, and you probably might stand a better chance. One of the other things is media begets more media. So if you get some coverage somewhere, a lot of times you can put that on your website or whatever, and other media, when you contact other media and they see that you've done media, they might be interested. The other thing is a lot of these people that make these publications, say there's a magazine called Monster Magazine. I don't know if there is or not. More than likely, that's a special magazine that a bigger publishing company is offering. So if you appear in that, they might consider you in some of their other ones. Since deregulation, now there are some media companies that own an AM station, an FM station, a newspaper, a magazine, and a radio. There's conglomerates now in multiple things. Even mom and pop ones can own multiple venues now. So there's a lot of ways. Once you understand what the media is, truly, not how it just looks on the surface, how it operates and works, then learn how you can create your message, and then learn how you can take your message and tap into this. That's where it can all start. The first thing I tell people is learn how the press and media works. The second thing is you've got to make it newsworthy. It can't be just an ad for you. That's the other thing you can spot a mile away is, these people are just looking for, free advertising. You've got to make it newsworthy. It's got to fit in with something. For example, when I worked with Butch Patrick, who played Eddie Munster, his prime time for getting media was in the Halloween season. We would start in mid-September, and for 6 weeks, oh my gosh, that was his prime time in front of the media, And, and there's certain media times of the year. There's back to school, there's holidays, there's spring getting ready for vacation season. And, there's always a media theme that we can look at too and try to tap into, take your message and tap into different themes, so many possibilities.
So I'm hoping that everyone watching this now, you can apply that to yourself. Think about what
Yes.
Rob has been saying and see, just let those pings of ideas come up and try not to talk yourself out of it because we are so good at that. We're so good at saying, yeah, but oh, well, not me. Yes, you. Why not is
Right.
exactly, instead of
That's it.
it'll never happen. It can happen. So, yeah, what else? What else do I want to, I want people to be able to read. Do you have a blog or I mean, where can they find you or just keep an eye out for you?
But yeah, I'm starting to do more podcasts again. I mean, you can always go to my
Cool.
website, which is theexpertexpert.com. And while you're there, you can get my free report on the right side. You can just request it and we email it out to you. And that's what I always tell people as a starting point.
Hmm.
There's a process that happens when you're learning it. You learn it, you start thinking about, oh, and then you start thinking of your message.
Hmm.
And then we try to get people to get their first media in the first couple of months. The first month you
Hmm.
digest it, we'll get you out there the second month. Some people can do it in as little as a week, but once you get your first media thing, this is what happens. You're like, oh my gosh, I was in the magazine, or I was in the newspaper, or I was on the air. And you're like, oh, that was great. I got to do more of that. And you're kind of riding high for the first 3 or 4 days. Then you reflect on it, and you start thinking, oh, but I forgot to say this, or I could have done that better. And that's great. People get upset with themselves, and it's like, no, don't be upset. That's you learning. Now
Yeah.
you've done it once. You can tweak it and make it better. And
Yeah.
like I say, the more you do it, the better you get, and the more media you do, the more people start coming to you. And if you're a great media guest, when I wrote the book Press and Media for Entrepreneurs in Small Business, it was just how to understand the media and get into them. And people were sending me copies of what they did. Now, this was before the internet. And I realized that they used the information well and got on the media, but then when they got there, they didn't know, like some of them looked like a deer in headlights or they were kind of nervous or jittery.
Sure.
So I wanted to come up with a way to help them get over that, build their confidence, and make them more media ready, media friendly. So I took the book off the market and turned it into the course and also do coaching on it and or do a hybrid. I've got one option where you can buy the course and get 90 days of 3 months of coaching. And that really shows them we focus a lot on how to be a good media guest too. So you're not going in there, you might always be nervous because it's new to you, but you're going in there with, hey, this is my message. This is what I'm here for. They're going to love this. And it's just like this is a new podcast to me. And I'm familiar with who you are from some circles we travel in, but it's like, oh, let's get together. And, you know, I'm not nervous. I just know my message, and your inquisitive nature combines, and we end up offering people some great content and information.
That's ideal. That's my
Yeah,
ideal right there. You
I
just
love
nailed it.
helping people in that capacity.
Me too. Me too. Well, thank you so much for being here today. It's been so
I had a
great to
ball.
meet you. I'll be
Same
in
here.
touch. And everyone, I will be sharing all of Rob's links in the show notes so that you
Please do.
can take advantage of getting to know Rob and getting your own stuff out there in the media.
Well, and I just started on social media, so Facebook and Instagram.
Oh, excellent.
uh, I'm on there as the expert. So you help get me going on it.
I will help you with that. Okay.
All
We can
right.
help each other. Thank you so much, everybody. And
Thank
thank
you.
you, Rob. Appreciate it.